A very warm good evening to all the history enthusiasts. We have come to the last day of the the Itihasa Saptaha 2.0, 7 days international virtual colloquium. And today is the second anniversary of our page. We are really very happy and excited because in the past 2 years we have done so much, and in the future we are planning to do so much more. And you all will be a part of our history enthusiast family. So we are really happy today that 2 years of this beautiful journey have completed successfully. Today we have with us Dr Sharmistha Chatterjee, Assistant Professor, Department of History, Amity University of Social Sciences, Kolkata. Amity Institute of Social Sciences, Amity University, Kolkata. And ma'am is going to talk on the fascinating topic of looking beyond monasteries, interland social mobility and transnational networks, a case study of South Bihar plains. So it is a very interesting topic. Ma'am, I welcome you on behalf of myself, Nidhi, and all our audience members. So we are really happy to have you on our virtual platform with us today. I
Thank you
also
so much.
welcome all the yes, ma'am. I also welcome all the members of the audience, our viewers, whose love and support has encouraged us so much so far. And please stay tuned till the end of the lecture. We will also have a short question answer session after the lecture is over. I also welcome my friend and co-host of this lecture, Miss Nidhi Katti. Uh, and without any further ado, I request Miss Nidhi Katti to introduce our today's resource person.
Thank you so much, Manali. So it's a pleasure and honor to introduce Dr. Sharmishta Chatterjee, ma'am. Dr. Sharmishta Chatterjee, ma'am, is Assistant Professor History in Amity Institute of Social Sciences, Amity University, Kolkata. She is gold medalist with PhD from the Department of Archaeology, University of Kolkata, and postdoc from the Indian Council of Historical Research, New Delhi. Ma'am has been a visiting research fellow in the Queen's University, Belfast. She has received Nehru Trust Travel Award and Charles Wells UK grants to work in the British Museum, Victoria and Albert in London, and Ashmolean in Oxford. Ma'am has been a part of European Council, ERCP, British Academy, and UGC major research projects. Dr. Sharmishta Chatterjee ma'am has presented her work in international and national conferences and also workshops. Her areas of interest are historical archaeology, landscape studies, and art history. And it's really very inspiring to read and to know about Sharmishta ma'am. And ma'am, you are really an inspiration for youths like us. And it's an honor to introduce you today on the platform of history enthusiasts.
Thank you so much, Nidhi and Manali, for the introduction. It's my privilege that I'm a part of this program now. And, the enthusiasm with which you are doing this program, for the last couple of years, it's remarkable. So I should first congratulate both of you that this is, again, a huge task that you have taken. You're connecting people across India. So that's immense work that you guys are doing. So many congratulations to both of you. And for today's lecture, Didi, do you think I can share the screen, or will you be sharing the screen for me? Okay, fine. I can, yes, I can see the screen now. I hope it is visible, the PowerPoint.
Yes, ma'am, it's visible.
Yeah, okay. So I will be talking, what I've tried doing is I have tried making this presentation a bit informal so that we can have more of discussions and interactions. I will be taking you across the Gangetic Plains, Middle Gangetic Plains, particularly focusing on South Bihar Plains, where I will talk on the history of how these monasteries came up one after another in these plains, and then how these monasteries were discovered and what lies beyond these monasteries. Because Seldom, as archaeologists or historians, we are attracted to the architectural edifices. We try to see the monumentality and all the kind of the structural evidences that are there. But we, as being historians, custodians of history, and archaeologists, we are also supposed to look into the cultural landscapes in which these monasteries survived, and looking beyond the areas of these monasteries, what lies in their hinterlands, perhaps in most of the cases, the rural hinterlands, which are connecting with all possible resources, which are supplying regularly to these monastic complexes, or let's say the viharas or mahaviharas. And in South Asia, I think it's high time that we focus not only on the architectural kind of edifices that are there, but try looking beyond the architectural specimens that are there. So here I will be trying to highlight these issues, particularly from a couple of sites which I've taken as examples from Bihar. And I will be trying to look into the rural hinterlands of these monasteries, social mobility, and also the transnational networks that emerge and emanate from these monastic sites. Now, it's needless to say that many of these sites in Bihar are UNESCO World Heritage Sites, so they hold special significance. That way also, many of these have been recognized in the last 2 decades as the kind of international forum, and therefore it is globally connected not only to the Asian lands, but also, when you talk about people coming from all over the world to visit these sites that we will see today. So here we see that, in the first map that we see here, I'm just trying to show you the area which I will be referring to. It is mostly the South Bihar plains, where you can see Patna, the location of Patna here, the location of Nalanda, one of the largest monastic complexes, which is also a Mahavihara, and happened to be one of the fascinating educational institutes that attracted scholars from across the world. And you can also see Rajgir and Bodh Gaya. So basically, I will be talking about this area, the developments, and how these, architectural structures, they came up one after another. What was the kind of patronage, and how did they interact with their immediate hinterland? So this is what I want to focus on today. So this is again a Google imagery of the area where the sites are plotted. And on the east, I don't know if I can, if you can see the cursor here, but on the right hand side you can see the location of Nalanda here in between, and down south you can also see the location of Bodh Gaya. Now both these, I'll start with these two sites, and try to see how these sites came into function. So both of them are UNESCO World Heritage Sites, Bodh Gaya being declared as a World Heritage in 2002, and Nalanda coming up in 2016, quite recently. So I will be largely talking about the Bihar, the plains that lies south of the Ganges River. You can already see the Ganges here on the north, and on the left, the river that you see is the Son River. So basically, it's the kind of these plains, alluvial floodplains, that we will try to see. In between, what you can also see from this map are the smaller streams and rivers that connects to these monastic complexes that we see here on the map. Now, I will just try and give you a glimpse of what was the kind of history, the historical background in which these monastic complexes are coming up one after another. Now, if you see that the 600 BC, we are having the 16 Mahajanapadas, we all know that. And, one of these very important Janapadas were the South Bihar plains, we have Magad. Now, Magad is again a fascinating place when you try to see its geographical location, and also, the kind of economic resources that this area had. The potential that this area had is immense. So therefore, we have a couple of dynasties coming up one after another and taking in the charge of the Magadhan plains, of which we definitely talk in history about the Haryanka dynasty, of which we definitely talk of Bimbisar, Ajatshatru, who were contemporaries of Buddha. And also later we talk about Mauryas to be one of the, the kind of the very important dynasty taking the charge of early historic Bharatvarsh. So that is something to start with. Now, when we talk about these Magadhan plains, the South Gangetic plains, we see that the initial capital of this area was Rajgir. You will be knowing about the landscape if you have visited Rajgir. So Rajgir has these lines of hills connecting, and it provides a natural kind of strategic location, a natural shelter to these sites, because it is having these two ranges, the Rajgir hills that are there, Vaibhara and Vipula hills, and many hot water springs and these water sources, they are seen around this landscape. So it is naturally kind of having advantageous kind of location, therefore, and it is also on a higher elevation, if you see. So Rajgir was having all kind of facilities when it comes to the having a naturally fortified area, having all the kind of resources, and therefore during the early period of the Haryanka dynasty, we get a lot of references of Rajgir as Rajagriha. Even in Mahabharata, when it comes to the references of different characters, we find this place mentioned. But as we move on with time, we see that gradually the people, I'll just scroll on and take you to the structures that we see at Rajgir. This is one of the earliest stupa structure which is associated with Ajat Shatru here of the Haryanka dynasty. And the Cyclopean Wall, that is again that makes the site very, very important, because it is one of its kind in India. Many scholars have tried to see its parallels with Greek architecture, because whatever the fortification that you see going along the natural topography is made of rubbles and stones, and which is just kept one above another without the support of any particular mortar. So this has been again a very spectacular feature of this particular site, and which provides, there were 2-3 lines of fortification, of which the Cyclopean Wall has definitely attracted the attention of scholars across the world. So Rajgir was definitely having these advantages that we have talked about. But what is interesting is, with the course of time, we see that the capital was decided to be shifted more towards the river. Now, Ajatashatru in particular thinks that he should come down more towards the river Ganges, because that would again help him in the networking process. Therefore, when we talk of networking, we have to understand that back in, when we are talking from the early historic period 600-500 BC, there were kind of the local exchanges and local networks that were developing through the land routes and riverine routes. And therefore he started building up fortifications in the Patali Grama area, which later comes to be identified as Pataliputra. Now, Pataliputra has been identified with Patna, the modern capital Patna of Bihar, and within the city, what we find are the remains of these early, kind of remains, Ashokan and Mauryan remains, particularly the Mauryan pillars and the palisade structures and all. This has also undergone excavations under the colonial period. Here is one of the glimpses from Pataliputra, and a part of it is Kumraha remains, which is now conserved by ASI. The two, there many scholars have worked on the area, but the two colonial scholars, I would say, who needs a brief mention here, other than Francis Buchanan and Markham Kitto and others, is Cunningham and Begler. I am sure all of us know about Alexander Cunningham and J.D. Begler. Now, why I'm talking about these two scholars in particular is because they took up the initiative to relook at these sites along the South Bihar plains, following the kind of reports of Xuanzang. They were trying to follow the Chinese pilgrim records and trying to discover and rediscover the sites, whatever was mentioned by Xuanzang. So naturally, Xuanzang came basically to get educated and enlightened at Nalanda. So naturally, they had large descriptions of Nalanda coming up from the reports of Xuanzang. But other than that, what is very interesting in the accounts of Xuanzang, he basically provides a very detailed account of this area. So, following these pilgrim accounts, not only of Xuanzang but also of Ajin, Aizing, these two scholars, Cunningham and Begler, they start exploring the South Bihar plains, and as a result of which, during this period, the colonial, this 18th, 19th century, we have a lot of discoveries and archaeological excavations happening. I won't say that all these excavations were very scientific. They were always, according to the scientific norms, properly arranged and properly organized. But yes, we get to know about these sites, look at these sites from their perspective and from the perspective through which Xuanzang tried to record these kind of people. Now, what is very interesting in these accounts is Xuanzang not only gives the geographical descriptions and he writes about the architecture and all that, but he also tries to connect these evidences with the cultural landscape. Therefore, sometimes in his records, if you read, you will see that he also refers to what kind of people were coming to the monasteries, what kind of people were coming to get education in Nalanda University. So that way also you can know a lot about the cultural landscape of this area. We have to remember that Xuanzang visited India around 6-7. So basically we are at a point to mark the early medieval. So here in the presentation that we are talking about, we are largely focusing on the early historic and the early medieval period. Here, early historic is largely, I refer to early historic and I take the time period between 3rd century BC to 3rd century CE. And for early medieval period, I would restrict myself from 6th to 12th century CE. Just to, in case there's a confusion regarding the chronology, I would like to specify. So now coming to the two first, talking about these two World Heritage sites, Bodh Gaya and Nalanda. Nalanda we have already talked about. It's a Mahavihara. It has been one of the very eminent, kind of monastic complex. It was an educational institute. Many courses were being taught in Nalanda. And you have to understand that during this time, what was happening, Taxila was also a leading university in the early historic times, because we have references of Taxila. But Taxila somehow did not continue for long. And when Taxila was almost on the verge of decay, Nalanda comes up as one of the major educational institutes. Therefore, Nalanda had the capacity to attract scholars from all over the world, particularly Southeast Asia. We have many inscriptions, dedicatory, votive inscriptions of the kings, of the lay devotees, talking about these two sites, Nalanda and Bodh Gaya. Now, we have talked of Nalanda. Why Bodh Gaya is important? We all know that Bodh Gaya is connected to Buddha. He gained his enlightenment under the Bodhi tree, and therefore it is marked as one of the most sacred sites in Buddhism. And therefore it attracts pilgrims from across the world. It's not only Southeast Asia, South Asia, but across the world. We have this reference of Bodh Gaya. So both of these, particularly Bodh Gaya, we have to understand, is a living heritage site where there are people coming every day for paying reverence to Buddha. And what is very interesting is, for this project work that we happened to visit Sri Lanka twice, and I was surprised to see they were trying to replicate this not only in Sri Lanka with the Bodhi tree and the Vajrasan on which Buddha sat and gained his enlightenment, but similar kind of replica we see in many areas on Southeast Asia. I'll come to that later, but starting with that. So talking about these two sites, if we try and see what is the antiquity, how far we can stretch back the dates for Bodh Gaya and Nalanda, we see that Bodh Gaya, according to the popular accounts and some of the explorations that have been there, we can place Bodh Gaya sometime around 3rd century BC, where the architectural edifices started coming up. There were construction activities, because when we see Bharut, and the Bharut, the remains of the stupa and the Chaitya and Vihara complex at Bharut, we see that already the kind of Bodhi tree representation is seen on the railings of Bharut, which shows that Bodh Gaya started becoming important from the time of Ashoka, who marked the area of Buddha's enlightenment with the construction of the Vajrasan. And gradually, we see by the time we reach to the Gupta period, we have the Mahabodhi temple complex coming up at Bodh Gaya. Now, when we try and see the area, just talking about the hinterland area of this complex of Bodh Gaya, according to the textual traditions, we see it is not only important for the Buddhists, but even for the Hindus, it is equally important. For the Brahminical people, it is equally important, because we know Both these sites are situated on the Falgu River, and on this river, many of the people of different religious faiths, they perform the last rituals. Therefore, it is considered to be very, very sacred. And in most of the texts like Bayu Puran and the later Vedic texts, we find reference of this area as Gaya Mandal. And both Gaya particularly marks the site of Buddha's enlightenment. So when you try to see it according to the textual sources, we have to see the rural hinterland as well, which includes many other areas other than the site of Buddha's reverence that is marked here. This is again a very popular map of Bodh Gaya. You can see a demon-like, figure coming in the. He's lying on the Falgu River. He's Gayasur, because Gayasur sacrifices himself to maintain the sanctity of Gaya area. And what is very interesting about this popular map of Gaya is, it kind of embodies the religious ideology of mostly all the faiths that are there. You can see Buddha, you can see Mahavir, and you can also see Vishnu, who is also important for his Vishnu Pad, which is also associated with Gaya, Shiva, and all the other deities, religious groups that are there. So this happens to be a popular map of the area when we talk about the complex. Now, this is the Bodhi tree which I was talking about, and it is below this tree, the Vajrasan, on which we find Buddha, meditating and gaining the enlightenment process. This is the Mahabodhi temple at Bodh Gaya, which has seen successive, constructions, successive, restorations, and it is not only restricted to Buddhism, but you also have a Saivite complex coming up in the late medieval period here, so which is also maintained by the trust which we see here. So it happens to be a big complex where you are having the Mahabodhi temple, the Bodhi tree, the Vajrasan, and also the votive kind of stupas and dedicatory inscriptions that comes from this area, which is equally interesting to note. Now, after Bodh Gaya, if we try to see Nalanda a bit, we see that, Nalanda is not only marked by the monastic cells, because, monks were residing within Nalanda to take the courses, gain the enlightenment and get enrolled in the different courses. At the same time, they were monks, they were also praying in the temples and living a regular life in this monastic complex. So MB Rajni, who is also one of the eminent scholars who's working on the area, she has tried to show with satellite imageries that very interestingly, you have many water channels, which is connecting to this monastic complex, which shows that the regular supply of water, the regular maintenance of, the monastic life is very much again helpful in this kind of topography. It is very much suitable in this strategic location. In the next map that you see, the red color that you see, which is the internal marking, that is the area where you have the extent of the monastic complex. And the blue line, the exterior line that you see here, is the buffer zone that is maintained by ASI. Now, why this buffer zone is maintained by ASI? Not only to see what is the extent of the hinterland, what kind of villages where, because there are many inscriptions, Pal inscriptions, late Gupta inscriptions, we see that people were dedicating lands in these hinterland areas from where supply of regular grains, food crops and resources were coming to the villages. I was very surprised when I was doing my field work in this area. In many of the villages which I surveyed in Bargaon, I found that 2-3 villages, they are still making those terracotta lamps, because they said that our forefathers who were there, they were supplying lamps to the monastic complex. So when you're working in these rural hinterland areas, you get to know that there are also these continuing traditions that needs to be documented and mapped. Where are these villages located? How are they connected to these monastic complexes? Are they coming through the land grants that were given during the Pala period or before that? So how do we connect these villages and the local communities? Because after all, when we talk of heritage, heritage belongs to the people, right? And they live in these areas around these complexes. So how they are perceiving this monastic complex. Now, there are many popular kind of myths that, this was a flourishing kind of educational institute, but later Bakhtiyar Khilji comes and destroys this, or it was destroyed with fire, because we have burnt marks coming from many of the areas. So we do not know. But what is interesting is Nalanda, we do not find it functioning very evenly post 12th, 13th century. But what is very interesting in the accounts of Taranath, which is 15th century, Dharmaswami, 12th, 13th century, they are still mentioning about Nalanda. So the legacy that you see of the site is immense. And therefore, this was getting connected to the entire kind of the global south that we are talking about in particular. These are the kind of, the series of explorations and excavations that we see from the site, or at the site, in within the site, and also in the extensive areas that surround these monastic complexes. These are few glimpses from the Mahavira complex that are there. And talking about the, now coming to the hinterland areas. Now, we have seen Bodh Gaya, we have seen Nalanda. Now, when one starts talking about the hinterland area, we see what is very interesting, which Xuanzang also writes, and perhaps Cunningham and Begler, they also try to, bring out in their accounts, are the lesser known monasteries. Now, these lesser known monasteries are definitely not UNESCO World Heritage Sites, so they are often left out and they are not considered that important, when we are trying to connect it with the kind of the major complexes that are there, like Nalanda or Bodh Gaya. Now, I will talk about what are the lesser known monasteries in this area. To start with, we have one of the very eminent, early medieval, monastic complex, which is known as Lakhisarai. Now, Lakhisarai is again, this has been recently excavated from the funds of ASI and Vishwabharati University. Also, undertook the excavations here. Bihar Heritage Development Society is also involved in this kind of explorations and excavation activity. And, we see that it's a huge monastic complex on the hilltop. So this is one of the, rare monastic complexes that you see in eastern India, located completely on the hilltop. And what is very interesting, it is not only having, the regular features of cruciform plan and the monastic cells all around it, but it is also having the bastions and, at the four corners, which is also providing additional defense to these monastic complexes. So here we need to be a little bit careful that perhaps with time the nature of the monastic complexes were also changing. Now they're also getting defensive in nature. In many of the monastic complexes post 12th century, you will see that the bronze images or the small sculptures of terracotta and all, they are all hidden under the, in some chamber or something. So why they are hidden? So was there any kind of chances of getting attacked, or some intrusion that was happening? So we have to see that post, this early medieval period also, there's a change in the nature of monasteries, where we are getting these lesser known monasteries that we see, we are getting more defensive in nature. And Lakhisarai, which is on the Lal Pahari hills, would be one of the fascinating examples in this account. This area is also mentioned as Krimila Vishaya in the early medieval accounts and inscriptions that we see here. Therefore, it is not only restricting itself to with the kind of architectural features, but it is also having the small votive shrines, sculptures, dedicatory inscriptions, gateways, and all of that, like we had seen for Bodh Gaya and Nalanda. So, the tradition continues, but, it is getting more and more enhanced with special features that comes up around this time. The other side, which is equally interesting, probably we do not know who actually established this, monastic complex, but this is known as Vikramshila Mahavihar. Whether it was established by the Pal king Dharmapal or his son Devpal, we do not know, but in Taranath's account, it is seen that it was possibly established by Dharmapal. Now, it is said in the manuscript also in Ashtra Sahasrika Pragya Paramita that this was not only a monastic complex at Antichok, which is in Bhagalpur area, the other lesser known monastery, but perhaps this was also kind of producing some kind of education goals. Probably this was also a center of enlightenment and meditation for the scholars who were coming, particularly from Southeast Asia. Now, this is again Antichok, the votive shrines that you see here. This is the main monastic complex. This is taken from the ASI report. It's a huge one, cruciform in plan, and it is radiating out with the monastic cells that are there. So we do not know what was the actual function, but we have to keep in mind that from these kind of, when we talk of Lakhisarai or when we talk of Antichok, a special some the sculptures and votive offerings that you see is not only indicating us towards Mahayana form of Buddhism, but possibly, the tantric effects, of Vajrayana that you see that developed in Eastern India around this time in the early medieval period, that is also very, very prominent. So you have emphasis on Tara cult. You have emphasis on the lesser known deities, bodhisattvas. So these kind of figures, rather than having the main Buddha or his symbolic form, these forms also emanate. So, the changes that you notice here is not only well marked in the architectural kind of edifices, but also when you see the regular functioning, the sculptural art historical evidences, even the landscape parameters, this is getting more and more complex. It's not a very easy and transparent thing that you see. It is having effects of Vajrayana. It is becoming more secluded. Think about a monastery which is done on the top of a hill. Why? Because it needed seclusion. Why would you need seclusion? Only for meditation, or is it for some other kind of, tantric activities which might be also going on within these monastic complexes? So defensive nature, why these are coming up, these also have to be taken into account when we are talking about the lesser known monasteries that are there. So, and moving on from Antichok, the two other lesser known monastic complexes, one is Tilhara, which is also, this was again pointed out by Xuanzang. He said that this is also a well known seat of Buddhism. This is not as huge as, Nalanda or any other site. It's a small one, but it is also having a small monastic complex here, which is 29 kilometers northwest of Nalanda Mahavihara. You have many sculptures of bodhisattvas and, this lesser known deities which are coming up from Tilhara site. Tilhara is now undergoing excavation by Bihar Heritage Development Society. So if you are in Bihar, you can also go and check out the excavations. This has been excavated for the last 3-4 years. This is the 5th year where we are having the excavation of this site, and you have many votive inscriptions coming up, with small deities, clay tablets, dedicatory objects coming up from Tilhara. And the last site which I will talk about is this site, the last corner one right hand side is Gusrava Tetrava. This site is again mentioned in Xuanzang's account. Now there are two villages also, very near to Nalanda, which are named as Gusrava Tetrava. There are many artifacts also which are coming up because, as you can see from the picture, the monks have started visiting these lesser known monasteries also. So the monks who are paying a pilgrimage to these areas, they are not restricting themselves to Nalanda or Bodh Gaya. Now they have started visiting even the lesser known monasteries and the rural hinterlands also, to know what kind of lifestyle practices or continuation of traditions that we see in these areas. So the last picture on the right hand side corner that you see here is from Gosrava Tetrava. We are yet to undergo excavations at these two sites. We have just explored, come up with a lot of evidences of sculptures and potteries and also many other forms of artifactual evidences from these two sites that are there. Now, I would now talk about the last part of my presentation is the transnational networks. When we visited Myanmar for some this UGC project, which was headed by Professor Kaushik Gangupatthai, we were amazed to see that the exact replica of Bodh Gaya temple is done in Myanmar at Bagan. And if you see the inscriptions of Bodh Gaya, you see that there were many kings from Bagan or Myanmar who were sending out ambassadors to Bodh Gaya to repair the Mahabodhi temple, to get the merit from the Mahabodhi temple, and a lot of votive inscriptions do come from this place. So therefore, when we talk of Southeast Asia, we only talk of Malaysia, Cambodia, Java, Sumatra. We never talk about Myanmar. But Myanmar happens to be one of the very interesting areas which is showing us direct proofs of this coordination or networking that was happening with Bihar during this time. And it is, this is the left hand side is the left hand side is the Mahabodhi temple at Bagan, and the right hand side is the Mahabodhi temple in Bihar. So it looks exactly the same. And if we see here the votive tablets that are there here, even the votive tablets which are coming from Bagan and Myanmar, we see that the Mahabodhi temple is represented on the head of Buddha. And not only the temple, you can also see the vines or the leaves of the tree, Bodhi tree, coming out, emanating from the kind of the Mahabodhi temple that is there. So that means that Mahabodhi temple, Bodh Gaya, was already held in high esteem during this part in Myanmar. So we need to look into these transnational networks through more explorations, more research. And this is the last photograph that I want you to see. This is of Bagan. You have thousands of this Buddhist, kind of monuments. All of you can have a visit to this site. It is spectacular to see how Buddhism had spread in different ways. And here also you will find the three phases of Buddhism very, very prominently. It is the Theravada form, the Mahayana form, and also the Vajrayana form. The local museums that are there in Myanmar would also help you in guiding and seeing the connections that was there with the East Coast in particular and the Bihar plains that we have talked about. With that, I will end my presentation and I will wait for your questions and interactions if there are any. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It was a really very scholarly lecture.
Thank you, Manali.
Absolutely. Yes, ma'am. Very well researched, and so much we have, so many new things we have learned today about the lesser known monasteries of South Bihar plains, because we have only heard about Takshila and Nalanda and a little bit
Yes,
about Tamshila, but we haven't heard about the other monasteries which you threw light on today. So
yes.
it was really very, very informative and enlightening for us.
Thank you.
I request any viewers, if you have any questions, kindly put it in the comment section.
Thanks.
Yes, ma'am. I have a question.
Yes,
Like,
please.
apart from Myanmar, is the influence of these monasteries or this kind of architecture seen anywhere else in Southeast Asia apart from Myanmar?
Yes, a lot of places, Java, Sumatra, Malaysia, Cambodia, Vietnam. But what is why I mentioned about Myanmar is already you will find scholarly articles on these areas, but nobody has worked on the ties that were developing with Myanmar parallelly. We generally tend to rule out the connections with Myanmar and Bagan in particular. So that is why I wanted to bring up. But particularly when you can very easily mark out the connections when you see the votive tablets and the sculptures that are there. So these two are very prominently linking us with the mainland, Indian subcontinent that is there.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank
Dr. S.K. Aruni sir has asked a question.
Yes, please.
He asks, what do you think about the destruction of Nalanda University by Bakhtiyar Khalji?
Okay, again, thank you, sir, for this question. This is again very difficult to say because, according to the popular accounts, if you see, even some of the accounts of the later Buddhist monks, they say it is due to Bakhtiyar Khilji that he tried destroying the places, and even the library that was there, it was full, put on fire and all that. Now, there are definitely some burnt marks and burnt patches in some of the areas of the complex, but if we try to establish a direct linkage, I don't know how far it will be justified, but surely as Bakhtiyar Khilji is put into kind of narration when you see the later Buddhist accounts as being solely responsible for the destruction of the monastic complex.
Thank you so much, ma'am. If
Yes.
any other questions, yes, sir has asked one more question.
Yes,
Could
please.
you inform us about the influence of Myanmar on Buddhist art in India? The
Yes, this is again, yes, I thought that, I won't be having time to speak on that, but thanks to Aruni sir that he has asked this question. This connection that you see in Buddhist art, I won't say that you would only find it in the kind of early medieval period. It actually starts way earlier. So, let's talk about the beads, the votive tablets that are coming up from the early historic period. You can see exact parallels, and particularly for the cult of bodhisattvas that are there, Avalokiteshwar, Tara, and Maitreya. So here you would find exact similar kind of thing. Particularly when you see the influence of art, I would say the Pala art, which you see, which flourished in Eastern India and also spread to areas of Southeast Asia. It has kind of dominated a lot in Myanmar, and some parts, at least in Bagan, Halin, Sri Kshetra, these three areas, I would say there are also influences of Gupta art that we see in some of the cases.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. I have a question, ma'am. So you mentioned about Huen's thanks mentions about these monasteries. So, ma'am, how much we can believe on these mentions? He has mentioned a lot of places in his book,
Yes, yes,
and
yes.
is it worthy to trust on that source?
Exactly. Nidhi, I don't know who has asked this question, but I'm really happy that this question has been asked here. Yes, this is again a very important part, how far we can rely on his accounts. Because first thing is we have to understand that Xuanzang did not go to all the places by himself. So he depends a lot on the hearsay, whatever he is hearing from the people. Because if you read his accounts and try to relate it with the other contemporary accounts, you see there are a lot of discrepancies that happens in distances, because the measurement that he gives from one side to another is largely based on the local hearsay or whatever he gathers from the local area. So we have to keep in mind, and we have to be a little bit cautious that all these sites that he is mentioning, he was not visiting himself. In the prominent areas, definitely he was a part of it, but when we are trying to read, we have to definitely see in correspondence with the archaeological evidences and the other contemporary records that are there.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, I have a curiosity concerned with the same
Yes,
question.
yes,
That did he exaggerate a bit about Buddhism and Buddhist monasteries because he was influenced by the same religion?
yes.
Was it?
Kind of. He was particularly interested in knowing more about this Yogachar and Madhyamika schools that are there in Nalanda, and what is interesting is perhaps he tries to be a little bit exaggerating in some of his accounts, because he doesn't like Shashanko at all, the Bengal ruler who was possibly a Saivite, and therefore he tries to see more of Harshavardhan and tries to emphasize in his way. So yes, so when we are dealing with these accounts, Nidhi, we have to be a little bit cautious since we are historians and trying to know what was the truth. Yes, you're correct.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, SK Aruni sir has asked one more question.
Yes.
Do you believe that Yuan Stang visited Kanchi? He has asked.
um Well, I because if if I follow Tansen Sen's work, Professor Tansen Sen, he has worked on the route and what route he followed. Definitely, Kanchi comes in. But when you read his accounts again and try to match it with the other contemporary records or inscriptions that are there, it is a little bit difficult to understand. But in the map route that you see, which has been done on the basis of his travelogue by Professor Tansen Sen, that is surely coming in. Kanchi is covered.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Ma'am, do you want to give any suggestions uh, to youths concerned with our page or in general history students for history students?
Yeah, firstly, I should again congratulate you. We need more platforms and interactions like this, because sometimes what happens, like when you ask questions, even the speaker who is there gets to learn new things, gets to, think about new things. So, interactions, questions are very, very important. And, COVID has brought a lot of these negative things in our life, but perhaps this virtual platforms, this is the only positive thing, that through these virtual platforms we are getting more connected, we are seeing each other, and we are being able to talk with one another. Like, I will just give an example. uh, Aruni sir has worked on medieval thing, and I have been fascinated with his work, but I hardly get any chance to interact with him. But here, when I'm talking, he's there listening to me, asking me. So, this kind of platform, this kind of initiatives should be taken up more. And, one suggestion, I don't know if it is possible, if you can also arrange some field trips, let's decide coming together and arrange some field trips together, so that would be also interesting, Nidhi.
Yes, ma'am, sure. We will
Yes.
consider your suggestion, and surely this year we will try to conduct some field projects as well.
Yes, thank you so much. It was wonderful talking to both of you, Manali and Nidhi. Thank you, and congratulations to both of you once again.
Thank you,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Actually, since you mentioned that you don't get a chance to interact with Aruni sir, and we had also invited him earlier, but due to some reasons, he could not give a lecture. But I have
Right.
just invited sir to join the stream now and give his feedback. So I think sir will be joining in a minute.
Great. That is great. So he is again, you should ask sir for his lecture. He's like too good. We have been waiting for his publications. Like, when do we get to read his publications and work? So, yes.
Actually, yes, ma'am. I was lucky enough to attend one of his lectures at our department. He is
Hmm.
also an alumni of our department, so
Okay.
uh,
That's
it was
excellent.
really a great opportunity for me.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. I have sent him the link. He will be joining. Even
Sure. That
Professor.
that is good.
Yes, ma'am.
And Manali, are we having the valedictory session today, or is it postponed to tomorrow? I mean, tomorrow we are having that.
Yes, ma'am. It is today. Shadaksharaiah sir is about to join. There is some issue with his internet connectivity. He will be joining
Okay.
in a few
Okay. Great.
minutes.
Great. Great.
Yes, ma'am. And what is your what are your views on or your thoughts about the entire 7 day colloquium that we had?
Yes, though I was not present in many of these lectures, but the way you have arranged the topics and the speakers, again, they are all across, that is why I congratulated you. It's not an easy task, getting all these people, getting them to, interact with one another. It's a very difficult task that you people are doing. So hats off. And then you're having your own responsibilities. Hello, sir. How are you?
Madam, thank
So
you.
good to
So
see
nice of
you.
you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. So good to
Thank you.
see you.
Good evening, sir.
Very good evening, sir, and I welcome you
Good
on
evening,
behalf
madam.
of the
So nice of you.
yes, sir.
Thank you, Manali and Nidhi. And oh, it's a very important because Sharmishta is for ICHR very important fellow. She
Uh-huh.
stood first in the JRF examination. I still remember.
Yeah. Thanks, yeah.
And my good friend of uh, from Deccan College. I really appreciate the way she has presented today. Excellent. I was watching every bit of it. I was very proud of her presentation.
Thank you so much, sir. You are a true inspiration. So be there for us, all of us, sir.
No, it's my pleasure. It's very kind of you. So your wonderful presentation, madam. Yeah, always we at Deccan College we stands very very important for us. Thank you. So
Yeah.
nice of you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
And I really congratulate Dr. Nidhi and Manali because they have taken so much pain. They invited me, but I could not able to. But this is how I could able to connect this program, and really congratulate both of young scholars from Dharwad, where I did my MA from Dharwad, and they are my junior friends. So I'm congratulate for them. their presentation, and really they have worked very hard and bringing all
Really?
over the world, not only India and even America, from Nandan Shastri yesterday. It was wonderful. So I congratulate, and very important for Saptaha from history enthusiast, and really thank you all of you, and wish you all the best for your endeavors next, whatever you are planned for. Thank you so much.
Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
sir, and looking forward to hearing from you very soon.
Thank you. So nice. Thank you. And my convey my regards to Shaina. Your
Yes,
I remember. Please.
yes.
Huh?
Yeah, I will
Thank you.
surely convey the regards. Thank
Thank
you
you.
so
Please,
much.
please. Shain, but please. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Take
Thank you so much,
Thank you.
sir, for giving us your valuable feedback. It is really nice of you, sir, for accepting this invitation and joining us at such short notice, and for giving such an honest and encouraging feedback. Your blessings are very much inspiring for us, sir. We will definitely invite you once again. We will keep inviting you until you accept our invitation. So
No, no.
you have
I
Yes.
really, I'm so happy to listen to you, all of you, because I am not remember, your invitation, and I attended all the 7 days. So I'm, really admire your, patience and your hard work. Well, thank you so nice of you, Nidhi
thank
and
you, sir.
Manali and speaker. Thank you so nice.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you,
Thank you.
sir.
Thank you
Thank
so
you
Thank you
much.
very
so
much,
much.
sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Uh, Shadaksharaiah sir is about to join. Just give me a second.
Yes.
Yes, sure.
Sir, Aruni sir has left, I guess. No.
I'm here in the this thing
Yeah.
in the meeting. I'm just putting off my camera and muting myself. So I'm here with both of you.
Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
ma'am.
Sure.
Nidhi, can you please share the brochure of the Sanskriti until sir joins?
Yeah, I'll do
Please
that.
inform our viewers once again about it, and
Yes.
inform about the last date also, the extended
Yeah,
date.
I'll do that. Just give me a minute. I'll just share it in a minute. Just give me a minute.
Yes. As you all know, as you all viewers, history enthusiasts, know that we are editing a book, a bilingual book on women and her paths. We have given it the title Sanskriti, and it is going to be published uh, in a few months, we hope. So we had shared the brochure earlier also, and since some of our colleagues and friends and some of the contributors have requested us to um extend the last date of submission of papers for the book, we have extended the date till 30th of May, and
Yeah.
once again we will be sharing the brochures.
Yeah.
Sir, yes, the valedictory speaker will be joining shortly. So until then, I think we will talk about this.
I have shared the brochure. Just check it.
Yes, please put it on full screen.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. So here we are publishing this book from Dharwad Akshara Foundation, and of course we have given a lot of wonderful sub themes. So you can see it in the next page. Please share the next page here.
Yes.
Yes, uh, Professor R M Shadaksharaiah sir has joined us.
Yes.
We have shared the brochures on our Facebook page also. You can check it out there later, or we will have a separate, uh, you know, video about it. So let us, since sir has joined us, I welcome Dr. R M Shadaksharaiah sir on behalf of the history enthusiasts, on behalf of myself, Nidhi, and all our viewers. Welcome, sir. Arre. Sir has exited by mistake.
We will wait for sir.
Yes, until then, shall we read some of the comments? Professor
Yes,
Usha Devi
sure.
Madam has commented that it was a good program, and earlier she has also written that it is ma'am's lecture was research oriented information was presented in ma'am's lecture. So
Yeah.
thank you, ma'am, for your feedback.
And we specially thank Usha Devi ma'am and particularly Abhishek Kumar Pandey, who have joined all the 7 days lecture. And thank you so much for your support. And please attend our future lectures too.
Yes. Good evening, sir. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Yes, sir. Welcome, sir, on behalf of myself and Nidhi. Uh, And sir, Professor R M Shadaksharaiah sir has been a great source of support and encouragement for us. He is very inspiring and very, supportive to young researchers. He encourages us so much. He is really a great source of inspiration. And I would like to take this opportunity and introduce Professor R M Shadaksharaiah sir. Sir completed his masters in in art and his PG diploma in epigraphy as well as his PhD from the Department of Ancient Indian History and Epigraphy, Karnatak University, Dharwad. He also served as a lecturer in Gulbarga University and as reader and professor in the Department of History and Archaeology and Kannada Research Institute in Karnatak University, Dharwad. He also served as in charge director of Kannada Research Institute for over 18 years and took training in Italy under the UNESCO scholarship. Sir has studied museums in Austria and he has published more than 16 he has published 16 books and more than 250 research articles in various reputed journals. Sir has also given several keynote addresses, inaugural and valedictory addresses in various conferences and seminars, and it is always such a delight to listen to sir's lectures because he is so full of knowledge. He has more than 28 years of teaching experience and more than 45 years of research experience. So, sir is currently 72 years old, but his research work, he is literally, he cannot, he doesn't get tired. He is untiring in his research endeavors. We have so much to learn from him, we young researchers. And he is a member of various academic bodies and universities and state archaeological department. So, sir, it is a great honor to have you today on our platform with us. And once again, on behalf of myself and Nidhi, I welcome you, sir. Nidhi, please do
Thank
share the
you.
brochure of yes, sir. Please share the brochure of the valedictory address.
Thank you very much.
Yes,
Today,
sir.
lucky to share some of my views in this good occasion because I was on the way to Dharwad. Luckily, I got the portal to present my views here. Extremely happy to participate in the Itihasa Saptaha second year of history enthusiast valedictory function. The efforts of two knowledge hunger youngsters like Monali Mammaya and Nidhi Katti, who are the architects and instrumental to run the organization, are really appreciable. I congratulate them for conducting successfully second year virtual webinar of Itihasa Saptaha valedictory function. In the 7 days period, the scholars of various fields of many seniors and of middle age with great experience in their field have presented their papers related to history, archaeology, museology, religion, art and architecture, and epigraphy. Among the paper presenters, Dr. Lavanya Mansani is a professor of social sciences department belonging to America, presented the topic on Shaktism as mentioned in Mahabharata text, that is related to Mahabharata only. Another scholar, Dr. Nandan Shastri, served in the Museum of California for several years, has presented paper related to museum. The topic of Siddhanagoud also belong to museum. The other scholars are belonging to our country. On this background, the webinar may be treated as international level. The webinar was inaugurated by my old friend and former colleague, Dr. T.R. Ravishankar, a retired director of Archaeological Survey of India for epigraphical branch at Mysore. It rests on the importance of calligraphical features of inscriptions in relation to inscribed inscriptions and sculptures of some excavated sites. He pointed out the styles of scripts of inscribed inscriptions and undated sculptures found in the excavations at different places can be dated tentatively. The attempt made in this regard by various scholars are also remembered by him in the lecture. However, this is indeed a general statement on this aspect. The presentation of first paper was made by Dr. Mahesh G. Thakkar, Professor of Environmental Studies, Gujarat, and specialist in geomorphological studies. He has presented the paper on Dholavira, vestiges of Sindhu Saraswati civilization. It deals largely with the geographical features like island shape, Dholavira, marshy land, up and downs, slopy parts, canals, streams, wetland in rainy season, and archaeological vestiges exposed from Dholavira excavations right from 1985 onwards. The role of excavators like Bist and others are also remembered by him. He shows the role of environmental impact to Sindhu Saraswati civilization, and it was resulted for the rise of urbanization from rural level. The area was uncovered in the field exploration on the prehistoric culture is said. The finding of citadel, signboard with 12 letters, wall, about 16 stone masonry reservoirs, remains of city settlement, etc. They are said to be belong to pre-Harappan, Harappan, mature Harappan, and post-Harappan. He pointed out its origin, development, and decline, as well as the regions of its decline, like earthquake, etc., and migration of people in such circumstances to various parts of North India. Exploitation of rainwater, supply of water from one reservoir to another reservoir through the outlets, and its discharge and discharging the water, etc., are explained. He said the scientific knowledge of building the reservoirs, citadels, tentative regions like the change of climate and environment, earthquake, RN attack, etc., for the decline of Dholavira site slowly in 1500 BC. Most of the reservoirs, as explained by him, were made out of rocket situations. Township of Lower, Middle Parts, and Citadel 16 reservoirs are also explained by him. The development of 7 stages of the site was traced at Dolavira, also told by him. Citadel was built over early Harappan structure, which was buried there, and it is surrounded by 7 stages of mature Harappan, early Harappan structures. Early Harappa. The early Harappan structures, as said by him, are in square form, and later Harappan structures are in square type. They can withstand, particularly the circular or semicircular type of structures can withstand the earthquake. All these human activities, it was existed during the quaternary period as per the geological studies. And regarding the human stock and the migration of the human, he quoted several examples. And he also explained the growth of Neolithic period after Paleolithic and Mesolithic period. And also he said Vedic period, Aryanization into Kutch link, Harappan link with Egypt, Sumeria, Babylonia, Mesopotamia, etc. The urban features like sanitization with the drainage, terracotta pipes, lines, etc. are also focused. The second part of the lecture or the second day paper of Dr. Siddhan Gowda, retired director for State Museums, Bengaluru, was on museums organization. The lecture is highly useful, especially to students who are studying the museum subject in PG MA courses. It's also useful to curators of the museum how to organize the museum. Dr. Siddhan Gowda has focused the origin and development of museums in India with particular reference to South India and Karnataka by British officers right from its birth at Kolkata. The role of different officers, the functional aspects like collection, documentation, preservation, method of display, etc. In total, it is highly informative and good presentation. The third paper on Shakti, Divine Feminine in Text and Context by Dr. Lavanya Pamsuni is referring only the epic Mahabharata, as the scholar published the book on the aspect. Therein, the special importance was given to Draupadi and Kunti are treated as divine feminine, justified that they are feminine divines earlier. Likewise, she emphasized her views in the presentation. In the introductory part, she could have reviewed the feminine divinities or the divines of Hindus, goddesses, Jains, and Buddhist goddesses, which are all integral part of Shaktism in India. The fourth paper of Dr. Amit Gupta was on forgotten metal technology of Himalayas in Himachal Pradesh. It was also a good paper and deals with exploitation of metal or right from prehistoric period and use of metal technology from Neolithic period. The use of metals were gold, bronze, and silver in the period. later imposing generally iron technology in the megalithic period. He also focused the distribution of she also focused the distribution of locality of mines in and around Himachal Pradesh. Most of the metal objects are either implements or domestic objects like vases, plates, etc. The religious objects are found to be rare in the excavated sites of prehistoric period in the area, particularly during the period of megalithic period. She said it helps to make comparison with other known sites of North India and South India, as Dr. Muralidhara Rao made similar study of metal technology of South India. The occurrence of slags of iron or copper are said to be showing the indication of the respective mines during the prehistoric period in the region. The fifth paper on Gandhara art, a blend of Greco-Roman and Indian elements by Dr. Vinay Kumar, Assistant Professor, Banaras Hindu University, Banaras. It was really an excellent lecture and got many details of Gandhara art and which is mixed with Indo-Greek, etc. Dr. Vinay Kumar drawn the attention of Gandhara art right from its geographical location, political impact, largely of Yuchi family were called as Kushanas, their rise, their origin, their expansion, their growth and decline, their genealogical account and art contribution made by each king. Really, this lecture is highly useful to the students of art and architecture. The sixth lecture today, just now, Madam has given the full details on her own way. The topic is on evolving new exhibition. Sorry, not the sixth lecture. Sorry, it is the sixth lecture, not today's lecture. The sixth lecture on evolving new exhibition strategies for conceptual museums for historical themes by Dr. Nandan Shastri. This was also a good presentation and he emphasizes largely on the new exhibition strategies by quoting several examples of the museums of international repute. Today, Dr. Madam has given the last lecture. It is on looking beyond monasteries, hinterlands, social mobility, transnational networks by a young scholar, Dr. Sharmistha Chatterjee. In her lecture, she has given largely about the Buddhist monasteries, maybe of Bodh Gaya or of Nalanda and other sites. She also made the classification of the Buddhism, where she explained the Hinayana, Mahayana, and other sects. And it was needed to explain particularly the art and architectural features of each sect. Anyhow, this lecture also is highly informative and useful to the students of art and architecture, particularly Buddhist art and architecture. Anyhow, in total, both the young and energetic scholars Nidhi and Mommaya took so much interest to formulate and successfully conduct the webinar 1 week. It is highly significant. They are too young, but they have the good knowledge and good planning and the dynamism. Because of their dynamism and sincere efforts, they successfully completed 7 days webinar. It was really appreciable. Being the youngsters, they took so much interest to do it in a proper manner. And these lectures are really useful to the scholars of history, archaeology, museology, religion, etc. Therefore, I congratulate them on behalf of all the viewers and presenters of the papers. And also, I wish both to continue the same spirit to conduct such webinars in future also. May God bless them. Thank you both, and thank to the viewers and friends for providing me an opportunity to deliver my valedictory address. Thanks to one and all. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. You have beautifully summed up the gist of all the lectures of 7 days, and thank you for the encouraging words. We will definitely continue doing what we are doing, sir. And your blessings are always required. We always need your support and guidance because, as you said, we are just two young scholars, and we are very much ignorant in some aspects of history. So, when we learn from you, elders, only then we can go ahead on the right path. So definitely, sir, your guidance is very, very essential for us.
Our
Sir,
blessings are always with you. We always extend our heartful encouragement for doing such a wonderful work to the society, particularly to the academic field. Nowadays, conducting a small webinar or a seminar in the university by the professors or the heads of the department are finding great difficulty. But you too, without expecting any monetary benefit, you are doing it very sincerely is really great. Therefore, on behalf of my students, research scholars, my friends and colleagues, and all the viewers, I congratulate you, and I pray God to give similar type of spirit to you for continuing this type of activities. Thank you.
thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you so much.
Thank you,
Thank you.
sir. Thank you for the encouraging words from my half also, my end also. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. I just want to read a few comments from the viewers. SK Aruni sir has already given his feedback to us. He had joined the stream, and again he has written, I congratulate the organizers, Dr. Manali. Sir, we are still not doctors, but with your blessings, we will soon be. So, Dr. Manali and Dr. Nidhi, we take it as uh, a compliment for tireless hard work for week-long program. Thank you all for success of the program. We are proud of the entire team. Thank you very much, sir. We are really so moved by your trust in us, and we hope that you continue guiding us like this. Dr. Madhuri Chaugule has written, ಅತ್ಯಂತ ಉತ್ತಮ ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಈ 7 ದಿನಗಳ ಕಾಲ ನಡೆದ ಇತಿಹಾಸ ಸಪ್ತಾಹಕ್ಕೆ ಎಂಥೂಸಿಯಾಸ್ಟ್ಸ್ಗೆ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಜಗದೀಶ್ ಅಸೋದೆ ಕಡೆಯಿಂದ ಅಭಿನಂದನೆಗಳು. ಸೊ ಎಸ್, ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಜಗದೀಶ್ ಅಸೋದೆ ಹ್ಯಾಸ್ ರಿಟನ್ ದಿಸ್ ಕಮೆಂಟ್. ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು ಜಗದೀಶ್ ಸರ್. ಹೀಗೆ ಹಲವಾರು ಕಾರ್ಯಗಳನ್ನು ನಿರ್ವಹಿಸಲ್ಪಡುವ ಶಕ್ತಿ ಬರಲಿ. ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮಕ್ಕೆ ಭಾಗವಹಿಸಿದ ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು. ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು ಸೋ ಮಚ್ ಫಾರ್ ದಿ ಎನ್ಕರೇಜಿಂಗ್ ವರ್ಡ್ಸ್. ಫಾರ್ ದೋಸ್ ಹು ಡು ನಾಟ್ ಅಂಡರ್ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಕನ್ನಡ, Jagdish sir has congratulated the organizers, the history enthusiasts, for organizing the 7-day long program, and he has asked us to continue organizing many more such events. So definitely we will do it. We will bring more research scholars, resource persons. We will have more lectures and interviews and book reviews with the blessings of our elders. Definitely, we will do it. Sir, do you have before finishing this Itihasa Saptaha? Today is the second anniversary of our page. 2 years ago on today's day we had started this page, and we had really not imagined that we will come so far and we will do so much. In the beginning it was just a small idea, and like everything else in the world, it began from a small idea, and today we have completed 2 years. So do you have any message for research scholars like us? We are doing what we can, but there are so many research scholars around us. So can you please give a few words to them?
Yes, it is really, thank you very much. But my suggestion to research scholars, particularly youngsters or the seniors below my age, that whoever they completed the PhD or carried or published research articles, they should continue their spirit of earning the knowledge in their field through the special lectures, seminars, conference, etc. without going in negative direction. They always go in positive direction. Particularly, your contribution of conducting 7 days presentation of lectures by great eminent teachers, professors, scholars are really useful to them, and they should make use of these lectures. That will definitely inspire them to do similar works by continuing their research work. Therefore, I earnestly request everyone to take interest to earn the knowledge, to listen such lectures, to participate in such virtual webinars or seminars or the conferences. They are the centers of diffusing the knowledge to everyone who participates in such seminars. Therefore, everyone should take much interest in this line, because future career always it is possible to develop it only when you are more well-versed, matured in that subject. Otherwise, you will be utterly failure when you stand before the matured people. This is only my sincere advice. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Definitely, as you have said, once we complete our PhD, it doesn't mean that we have to stop researching or stop learning. We are inspired by you, sir, even at this age, and even after being retired, after so many years of retirement, sir is still so hungry for knowledge, and there is absolutely no field in history or archaeology which sir has not touched. Sir has knowledge about so many different dimensions of knowledge, and it is really inspiring, because even at this age he is so enthusiastic, and he has so much of stamina to learn, and we youngsters have to learn from sir and the likes of sir. So yes, sir.
For sure.
If you exploit such situations, you will not get any tiredness. You will get more anxious to learn, to listen, to improve your knowledge. It is a thrilling way of acquiring the knowledge. One should see that. Therefore, I request everyone, especially to the youngsters, not only youngsters, but also to all the seniors below my age. They should turn down their mind towards this side. Then only it is possible to improve their knowledge, and they will be master in the subject. Thus, mastery will help to handle the research aspects even before their research scholars or the research scholars of any university in the nation or outside.
Thank you, sir. So, sir has just disclosed the secret of his, you know, always energetic nature. Thank you so much, sir. And we are coming to the end of this lecture, the valedictory address, as well as the 7 days virtual colloquium Itihasa Saptaha 2.0. We have learned so much throughout the 7 days from all the resource persons who have presented their papers, and it is now time to say goodbye and to step into the third year of our journey, and that we do very optimistically, very enthusiastically, and we hope that the support and love of all our viewers, all our elders continues to guide us, to encourage us. And coming to the end of this session, I request Ms. Nidhi Katti to propose the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Manali. Thank you so much. So these 7 days international curriculum Itihasa Saptaha 2.0, as symbolic to birth anniversary of the history enthusiasts, was a successful event, and I thank all the 7 speakers who gave wonderful lectures, and T.S. Ravishankar sir, who gave the introductory speech, and Dr. R M Shadaksharaiah sir, who gave the valedictory speech. It's really a pleasure to listen to all these scholars, and we always need your guidance, support, and blessings, sir. And there is a lot to learn from you still, and we continuously need your guidance for our history enthusiast platform. And I also thank all the audience who were active throughout these 7 days lectures. I especially want to mention some of the names: SK Aruni sir, Dr. Usha Devi ma'am, and Dr. Madhuri Chaugla ma'am, Dr. Aditya Hegde sir, and Mr. Abhishek. These audience continuously were active for 7 days, and thank you so much. And keep supporting us and suggest us if you want to suggest anything to add on to our platform. And last but not the least, I want to thank Miss Manali Momaya, who has been a great friend and a great co-host always. And without her support, this platform cannot exist. So in COVID, during 2020, we had started this page. Because of her support, and because of her enthusiasm as mine, we have reached the second year, and we will work more. And as Shadaksharaiah sir has suggested, and Sharmishta ma'am has suggested, we will also try to work on field, and try to spread awareness more about history, art, architecture, and museums. So thank you so much. Keep supporting us. Subscribe to our page, like, share, and subscribe to our videos and channel. Thank you so much.
Thank you to Nidhi. Once again, personally, so Nidhi has already covered everything. I also once again want to personally thank all the 7 days resource persons, Dr. Mahesh Thakkar sir, Dr. H.M. Siddhan Gaudar sir, Dr. Lavanya Vemsani ma'am, Dr. Amita Gupta, Dr. Nandan Shastri, Dr. Vinay Kumar, and Dr. Sharmishta Chatterjee. All of them have given us so much knowledge. They have catered to our curiosity and to our hunger for more information. So their contribution to our page is invaluable. And once again, I want to thank you all. And of course, I want to thank my dear friend and the co-host of this entire 7 days colloquium, Miss Nidhi Katti. She is ever enthusiastic, and she is always cheerful and bubbly and optimistic. So she gives a lot of spirit to our page. I thank you, Nidhi, for being such a good sport. And we are leaving this platform today with a promise to bring more such content on our channel, promise to do more in the field of history and promise to keep uh, doing what we are doing. So thank you all once again. We are signing off. See you all very soon with something new. So bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Manali. Thank you, Nidhi. Thank you, sir, once again. Have a great and best wishes from my end.
Thank
Thank you,
you so
ma'am.
much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
So we are
Thank
ending
you.
the broadcast. We will hope to see you all soon, very once again, and hope to see all our resource persons face to face someday, very soon. Thank you.